Well, it's that time of the year again. Time to go fruit picking. And it's been a particularly good year. I have Asian pear trees on the property, but it's all just kind of crabapple stuff. It's not worth eating, but they do make good extracts, jams, jellies, etc. So, and for those who don't know, Asian pears are actually fruiting usually every 2 years, and they don't usually line up very well, but in this case they did. So all of the trees have pretty much started fruiting. So I have with me some trash bags to collect them, and what I usually do is I collect them off of the trees and then I freeze them. And then later on, when I have time and am up for it, I generally have them and boil them and that sort of thing. But freezing actually helps destroy the membranes, and that makes it a little bit easier to process. Alright, so I'm under one of these trees now. You can see how tiny these are. I like them to be a little bit mushy. You can see here on this darker section, that's all, I wouldn't exactly say it's from frost, but it's from cold damage. So this one is doing pretty well. I don't know if you guys can see it, but there are a whole bunch of tiny flies, and they're probably fruit flies because the ground is just littered with fermenting pears. So, and I brought the trailer partially so I could stand on it. Sometimes I come up with these little rigs for grabbing fruits and that sort of thing. This tree seems pretty far along, so I think a lot of these will just come off without much hassle. I've had rabbits before, and anything that's sort of related to apple, pear, apple, or Asian pear in this case, they have these nice shiny kind of waxy leaves, and rabbits love chewing the bark off of these branches and eating these leaves. So it's kind of a shame I don't have any rabbits anymore, because I have so many sources for branches, like all the dead branches that fall off. They would love to chew those up. My chickens aren't even particularly interested in the fruits from these trees, unfortunately. I'm getting a decent haul, probably up to around 20 pounds or so. I thought this was pretty cool. Have a little bird nest right here. It's an old bird nest though. Yeah, it's pretty cute. I've seen a lot of bird nests in these trees over the years. Yeah, and it seems like a lot of these aren't really ready to pick yet, but some of them are actually already fermenting on the tree, so it's sort of staggered. And I know from experience in the past that after a certain time of year, the trees will be covered in wasps and other things that are interested in the fruit when they begin to ferment. So, because all of that sugar gets converted. So it's better to just pick them a little bit early. All right, this is really probably about all I need. Ugh. It's a lot. It'll be hard to fit into the freezer any larger than that, but heck, there's so much fruit out here. Might as well fill up another one or two. Well, here's another set of trees. This tree is with my chickens, and it has lots and lots of fruit, but they're itsy bitsy cherry sized fruits. Plus, they're guarded by my horrible little rooster. Alright, just about. Yeah, about the same amount here. So, I don't know how much weight that is really. I'm sure it's over 50 pounds total, but... Whew, got a couple more trees to visit just to get the full selection. I'll let the rooster back out. Here you can see the new flock. Or I should say newer flock. We refer to them as the circus because they're pretty colorful and full of strange antics. Here's this kind of canker that kills these off. Like you can see, it's bumpy. Here's another example. I'm not sure if this is fungal or bacterial. The neighbors have a theory that it's from some cedar that are in proximity to the fruit trees. I saw very little of this sort of canker stuff on the other tree I was working. And it basically just seems to stop it from growing or kill off the fruit or something. I'm not really sure. But yeah, some years this is really bad and there isn't much fruit. This has been a pretty good year. I have been trimming back the wood slowly, so I may have gotten rid of a tree that was spreading it, but not in this region apparently. Yeah, there are a lot of them like that. So this is pretty interesting. This tree looks like absolute crap. You can see it's stressed out like crazy, but it has some extremely large fruits for these little crab apples that generally are around. And I think it might be because it's lost so many branches over the past couple of years from fruiting and storms and ice and that sort of thing. And it's one of the saddest trees in terms of the number of branches. And I actually bit into one of the fruits and it's actually pretty tolerable. If you were really feeling ambitious, you could probably eat a few of them and not get too much diarrhea. So this tree is interesting. I might just try watering it. I might try watering a few of these and see if I can get better fruits, but I think the limiting factor with the fruits is just the sheer quantity. You're supposed to thin them out when they're about coin-sized, and I don't do that, largely because none of these have been pruned for growing fruit. So access is a real problem. You'd have to get them early. These were all just sort of planted by birds and such, I think. All right. So, yeah. I have pretty much this entire container full of fruit. You may wonder, how many fruit trees do I actually have on the property? Oh gosh, there's still a few really nice fruits on this tree. I hate to let it go to waste, but there's just too much fruit this year. I don't need it. Anyway, on my initial count when I bought the place, there were, well, I had counted about 12, I think. It might have been even 9. And then later I found a few more and I was up to 12. And now I know they're actually scattered throughout the woods as well. So they're one of the most abundant deciduous trees on the property. I'd guess probably at least 20. So I have a ton of fruit trees, but like I said, they're all wild. So they haven't been pruned properly, and they're very hard to access. I know that there must be at least, I don't know, at least 1,000 pounds of fruit every single year, more or less, but I can't really get to most of it unless I was to actually climb the trees, which I've done in the past, or sometimes I take the opportunity to actually prune the trees at the same time. And if I'm already pruning them, then, you know, I'll just take the fruit off the branches I prune. I can see a few really nice looking fruits on here, so this tree could use a little TLC. It has at least a couple branches that are dead just hanging out in it. And one of the other problems with trees that haven't been pruned is that they grow this fruit and not all of it falls off. And then you get this type of stuff right here. This is most likely a fruit from years past that has dried up. Well, it's on here so well, it might not be. It's hard to say for sure, but you'll see these fruits that are left on here, and they'll just start rotting, and they can mess with the tree. There's actually quite a lot of them on here still. The birds don't get to them, and they don't fall off, and they just sit there rotting, and then you see the whole branch is dying from all these rotten old fruits. You know, it's like if you had an infection and never treated it. So it's pretty important to actually keep up with pruning and such, and there's just too many of these fruit trees and they don't produce anything of quality, and the main thing is the lack of proper pruning. So in case you're wondering what I do with those Asian pears, this is freeze distilled syrup from those, and I basically just cut them into pieces, boiled them, and extracted the liquid, and then I put it in the freezer, pulled it out, let things melt just a little bit, then poured it again, filtering and pouring into another container. This is probably double freeze distilled, so there's a pretty good concentration of syrup. There's still a lot of water in here too, though. And what I do with my syrup extracts is make beer. There we go. The neighbor and I have been working on this 5-gallon keg of Asian pear beer I made for a couple months. Has a good quality, has some roasted grains in it. Has a bit of a tart front. Actually, the tartness goes from the front to the middle. Has a nice alcoholic ending and some roast, and it has a nice structure. It's kind of creamy from the mash, and you can see good foam. It's good stuff. Probably 8 or 9% alcohol. And then the other thing, I have done is make a jelly out of it, and it's sort of an apple butter kind of quality. I'm not big on apple butter, so I'm not a big fan of this stuff. It tastes fine though. So I'll probably stick to making beers for the most part. The neighbors also started making candy out of the Asian pear trees on their property. This used to all be one larger property, so it's been divided up, and so they have some Asian pear trees that also produce the sort of little crab apple types. They haven't been pruned. Anyway, apparently if you add enough sugar, it makes a really good candy. So that's another thing to do, and you know, extracting a syrup would be conducive to that as well. Anyway, if you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe. I appreciate it.